Today we will look at one of the most secretive countries in the world. A country where even talking about the outside world can get you put into prison for years. Today we're looking at North Korea. I've always wanted to visit this country ever since I was young. I started looking up images of Pyongyang, the capital city, because that's all I knew about North Korea. I thought that it was just like another Asian capital city with lots of tall buildings and a bustling population. But when I saw the pictures, they were so different from what I expected. There were massive statues of foreign dictators. The streets looked empty. Most people were wearing the same type of clothes, and there were propaganda posters everywhere. This place looked nothing like any other country in the world, and that intrigued me. I wanted to know why this country was so strange. So I did some research, and that's when I found out that this is not just another country. This is North Korea. We will go through many interesting topics today. So if you want to hear more about this mysterious country, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's start by taking a look at the map. North Korea shares its land borders with China to the north, Russia to the east, South Korea to the south, and has no other neighbors. To the west, it is surrounded by the Yellow Sea and the East Sea, also known as the Sea of Japan. When you look at the shape of the Korean peninsula, it almost looks like a tiger. So the two Koreas are named after this. North Korea is the 28th largest country in the world by land area. It covers an area of around 123,000 square kilometers, which is about the same size as the US state of Montana. However, when it comes to population, it is ranked as the 26th most populous country in the world with over 26 million people. Life expectancy in North Korea is very low compared to the rest of the world. For men, it is around 70 years, and for women, it is around 74 years. That makes the average life expectancy around 72 years, which is 14 years lower than in the US. If you are born in North Korea, there is a 1 in 7 chance that you won't make it past the age of 5. This is mainly due to a lack of medical care in the country. In order to get medical attention, you have to wait until you are critically ill, and then you can get free treatment at one of the many hospitals in the country. The official language of North Korea is Korean, but there are also many Chinese speakers in the country. Since China is their biggest trading partner, they need to trade with them somehow. The climate in North Korea is mostly temperate, which means that it has 4 seasons per year. The summers are hot and humid, and the winters can be cold with heavy snowfall. The capital city of North Korea is Pyongyang, which is home to around 3.3 million people. Other big cities include which is home to around 320,000 people, and Hamhung, which is home to around 270,000 people. When it comes to the economy, North Korea ranks as the 16th largest economy in Asia. Its GDP is around $72 billion, which means that the country has an economy larger than most African countries. However, this is still around 30 times smaller than that of South Korea. On top of that, the economy has been shrinking in recent years. In 2020, the COVID pandemic hit the country hard, and the international community cut off all trade with the country. And this had a huge impact on the economy. Over the last 3 years, the country's GDP has shrunk by around 4.5%. The main exports of the country are coal, iron, ore, textiles, and food products. They export most of these to China and a small amount to Russia and Mongolia. The currency of the country is called the North Korean won. However, because of the poor state of the economy, most people use the US dollar and the Chinese yuan instead. If you want to open a bank account in the country, you will have to go through special government channels. Ordinary citizens cannot do this. Before we continue, now let's take a deep dive into the history of the country. We will only cover a small part of it since its history goes back thousands of years. Go back to the year 1945. At this time, World War II had just ended, and Korea was still occupied by Japan. The Soviet Union and the United States met up at the 38th parallel to discuss what to do with the Korean peninsula. They agreed to divide the peninsula along this line, with the Soviets controlling the north and the Americans controlling the south. It was hoped that the two Koreas would hold elections and then reunite as one country. But that never happened. Instead, both Koreas started to form their own separate governments and armies. In 1950, North Korea invaded the south. This started the Korean War. Both sides were fighting to reunite the two Koreas under their own control. China and Russia supported the north, and the US and its allies supported the south. After 3 years of fighting, the war ended in 1953, with the two Koreas still being separated. Throughout the years, both Koreas have threatened to destroy each other. They have also conducted many military drills near their border. Even though they are technically not at war, the two Koreas have been very close to going to war with each other several times. Now let's talk about the geography of the country. North Korea is mostly covered by mountains. The highest point in the country is Mount Baekdu, which stands at 2,744 meters above sea level. The majority of the country is covered by forests. which are mainly located in the northern half of the country. When it comes to water borders, the largest lake in the country is Lake Ch, which covers an area of around 77 square kilometers. Now, this may not seem like much, but keep in mind that the entire country only has a surface area of around 120,000 square kilometers. Also, the Tumen River forms part of the border between North Korea, Russia, and China. Many people think that North Korea is a poor agricultural country, but this is not true. In fact, it is one of the top 20 countries in the world for agricultural exports. It produces rice, vegetables, meat, and fruit. North Korea is also rich in minerals such as coal, iron ore, and zinc. These resources play a big role in the country's economy. Now let's talk about the government and the political situation in the country. North Korea is considered to be one of the most secretive countries in the world. The government is very authoritarian and it keeps a close eye on its citizens. The leader of the country is called the Supreme Leader. Currently, this position is held by Kim Jong-un. He took over the role after his father died in 2011. Under his leadership, the country has become even more isolated from the rest of the world. The country's government is based on a system of jaki, which means the government believes that North Korea should not rely on any other country for help and that it should be able to produce everything it needs on its own. Because of this, the country has very few foreign investments. The government also controls most of the country's media. This means that the average citizen only gets to hear positive things about the country and its leader. If you are caught spreading negative information about the country, you could go to jail for years. The government also has a large military force. The country has around 640,000 active soldiers. This is the third largest military force in Asia behind China and India. Now let's talk about human rights in the country. North Korea is considered to be one of the worst countries in the world when it comes to human rights. The government does not respect the basic rights of its citizens. People are not allowed to speak freely, practice religion freely, or travel outside of the country. If you try to leave the country without permission, you will be arrested and put in prison. Some people have tried to escape the country by crossing the border into China, but this is very dangerous since the border area is heavily guarded by soldiers. If you are caught, you will be returned to North Korea where you will face serious punishment. The government also runs many prison camps where people are sent for various reasons. Some people are sent to these camps for no reason at all. They are simply sent there because the government doesn't like them. Inside these camps, people are forced to work long hours for little pay. They are also denied basic necessities such as food and medical care. Let's finish off by looking at some interesting facts about the country. North Korea is the only country in the world that has a border with China and Russia, but not with any other country. No other country in the world has embassies inside North Korea. They all have them in neighboring countries instead. The first embassy that opened in North Korea was the Chinese embassy in 2015. You can only use certain ATMs in the country. If you try to use an ATM to withdraw money, you can only withdraw $100. The entire country has around 100,000 computers. That means that less than 1% of the population has a computer. All of the computers are monitored by the government and you can only use them to access approved websites. You cannot use Google, Facebook, Twitter, or any other social media platforms in the country. I hope you enjoyed learning about North Korea. If you want to see more videos about Asia, then make sure to hit that like button. Thanks for watching.